Good evening, hockey fans. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on In the Crease, our little hockey corner of the Rocky Mountain Sports Report Network. Here we discuss all things from the past week involving the Colorado Avalanche and the NHL, and there's a ton to go over there. I'm your host, Scott Cole, and joining me, as always, Greg Dowden on the other side. Greg, how you doing tonight, man? How's the week been treating you?
Doing pretty well. Week's been all right, other than kind of the unfortunate news that we're going to be diving into here in a little bit. But very stoked for the upcoming holidays and just gonna do some fun stuff. Very excited for the new Spider-Man movie. I'm currently wearing my my Spider shirt to commemorate, but unfortunately,
seen it twice already. I'm already there. I will say this: anybody who hasn't seen it yet, stay until the very end. Wait for the theater lights to come on. This is a Marvel movie. Do yourself some justice. We've been through this process before, people. You don't leave until the attendants come in and tell you you can't stay, but you got to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy what's going on in the NHL. But before we dive into that, Greg, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you love some seasonings? Do you like some sweet and spicy food?
Boy, do I. I am all about that spice. Give it to me as much as possible.
Well, it's all thanks to today's sponsors, Willow Seasonings and Blends. Without their support, none of this would be possible. So please go to willowseasonings.com and check out all the delicious blends that they have and put a little spice or a little sweetness into your life with a variety of flavors, from their sweet heat, which is amazing on some good cooked wings, to the feisty lime, also great on wings and steaks. Highly recommend them both. My always go-to is the garlic, salt and pepper for my steaks. So absolutely love it.
Yes, and it gets rave reviews at my house. My best friend loves to cook. Finally, it took him long enough, but he puts that on everything. Everything is covered with sweet heat, sweet smoke. It's just, oh man, I absolutely love the seasonings. And outside of it being a sponsor, I'll forever be a customer of theirs. So
100%, I am right there with you, man. If you have a question or comment on the show, please chime in. We'd love to hear from you guys, whether that's via the Twitter feed, the YouTube feed, or the Facebook feed, or on all three of those right now. So click follow, subscribe on our Rocky Mountain Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter at RM Sports Network, or at YouTube, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. And please allow StreamYard permission so we know who we're talking to during the broadcast if you'd like to chime in on anything that we are going over today. As we all know, the Colorado Avalanche entered into the COVID-related pause until after the NHL's Christmas break or holiday break, whatever you want to call it. They are set to resume December 27th. Games on the 18th today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. I was supposed to go to Boston for those two games against Buffalo and Boston, but canceled those a month and a half ago for other issues. And no makeup dates have currently been announced for those games. So we'll definitely see what happens there. But hopefully come back from this pause and go into Vegas and just steamroll those guys.
Yeah, it'd be nice. The one good thing, as much as it sucks to have this pause, as much as we're all wanting to know what's going on, having all the issues that there are, the one good thing is we will finally be getting some people back again. It'll be nice to not have just a constant, revolution of, all right, we got some people back and they're hurt. Okay, we got some people back and they're hurt. We can actually get a little break, get some people back, and hopefully just have a chance to finally get this team all together on the ice for what would be like the first time this season.
God, that one would hope. This is K&K. I know it is because I've talked to him earlier. He is at work. He'll drop in with a question here later on. Awesome. We were going to have another fellow on, Daniel from the K&K Sports Show, one of their intern guys over there. Huge hockey fan. Isn't able to join us today as he's finishing up some finals. So kick-ass Daniel. Hopefully you can join us next Wednesday, and we'll dive more into why our show is next Wednesday. Most people should be able to figure it out pretty soon.
What's in a week?
Look at your calendars, people. It's all right there. On top of everything else, a number of other teams have been put into this COVID-related pause. The Calgary Flames have been there for quite some time. They haven't played a game since December 1st. Or 4th, one of those two, but they haven't played a hockey game in a while. My fantasy team looks like crap. Kaiser's fantasy team looks like crap. Anybody who's playing fantasy hockey right now is like, well, this is dumb. I'm over it. Whatever. I'm kind of at that point with all these postponements and everything. The Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins were added to that list earlier today. The Nashville Predators were added to that list as well. So it's just, and then Vancouver and who else was it? Toronto had their game canceled today, and their 2 opponents that they're supposed to play tomorrow. So out of the 10 games slated for hockey today, there's only 5 going on right now.
Yeah.
I think out of the 7 slated for tomorrow, there's only 4 being played tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just it's such an interesting situation to be in right now because, we were talking about this just before we started. How, as a league, do you have 5 teams right now that are just paused, that just aren't going to do anything until the 27th? And then you tell Vancouver and Toronto, okay, you guys aren't going to play this weekend, but after that, you should be fine. Like, it's all over the place. And right now, just none of it makes any sense. And it'd be nice to have a little more explanation as to, okay, is the league just heading for a shutdown? Are we just getting prepared for it? Like, what's happening? Because you've got Montreal that says, okay, no fans. You have Philadelphia saying, okay, only fans with vaccinations, and Colorado, you're done till the 27th. Like, man,
let's get on the same page.
Yeah, everybody get on the same page for just a second. That'd be so nice, just that we can all kind of go, oh, that's what's happening. But right now, this is what we're dealing with, guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. The one thing that they did get on the same page about was the NHL and the NHLPA agreeing to go to enhanced measures, meaning unless they're on the ice or on the bench or during the game, masks are worn at all times for travel. There's virtual meetings. If they're doing in-person meetings, they're supposed to be super, super brief. They're testing players daily anytime they're at the rink. If they're at home, they don't have to be tested. Public interactions and charity events are hereby quote unquote canceled for appearance purposes. Restricted dining protocols, like they can't go out and eat. If they do want to go out and eat, they have to be cordoned off from the rest of the diners. There can't be a diner within 12 feet. The person serving them has to wear a mask anytime they're in their bubble, all this other stuff. On the road, you're pretty much stuck in your hotel room. You can have delivery done. You can have the restaurant and the hotel cook you up a meal and bring it to your room. It's really crazy, and they're even encouraging players to wear N95 or KN90 or K95N masks, and not just the cloth masks. They're recommending it. They're not saying they have to yet.
All right. Yeah, I get it. Obviously, when this type of stuff is happening, you got to be restrictive, but it just feels so, I don't know, that I don't want to say pointless. Like, clearly there's a point to all of this. But again, if this is how far you're taking everything, why is there not just a shutdown? Why is there not just a pause to say, hey, let's see what happens. Let's figure out what's going on in the world. Let's see if cases can drop back down. Let's figure out. One of the biggest ones that we've been talking about, what about letting guys just play if they're asymptomatic? If that's the place that we're getting to in the world right now, is just, it's something we're going to have to deal with. It's not going away. All right, then why are we taking players who are asymptomatic out of the game? Why are we saying, oh no, you can't play, and now you have to miss the next 3, 4, 5 games? What's the point of any of this at that point? If you're gonna be that restrictive to where, it's like you can go out and eat, but people can't be within 12 feet of you, man, just call it good for a minute. We're gonna get into it here in just a second, talking about the upcoming Olympics. But man, if something happens with that they don't even go to the Olympics, we then have that time to make up some games. So you've got some options here. It feels like the NHL isn't doing anything as far as real concrete stuff. It's all just, kind of throwing a lot of stuff and seeing if something sticks, rather than just taking it and saying, hey, set everything down for a minute and let's talk.
Yeah. Kenny, works in healthcare, hospital environment. And, this was well known that numbers were going to go up around Christmas and the holidays and everything. And then, numbers might start dropping again in mid-January. But I do want to bring this up. And sorry, everybody, for strict hockey talk, but we are going to talk about COVID for a portion of this show.
We're
because
kind of forced to at this point.
It affects everything. It's affects football, hockey, basketball, probably baseball if baseball was going on, but it's not. It's wintertime. But there was a study that came out from Columbia University, and we've both read this article, Greg. Mm-hmm. It talks about the Omicron variant and what we know about it based off of their study there. It is saying that it is 70 times more transmissible but less severe than the Delta or other variants of COVID. Vaccinated can contract all variants. This Omicron variant doesn't seem to be affected by the vaccine or boosters. It's more powerful than that, so to speak. But if this is the dominant strain that we're dealing with right now, and this is what is popping up as the positive COVID test for players, across the board, and they're asymptomatic, it's a tough call. Do we let them play? Like, I'd like to see them continue to play. If you start feeling cruddy during the game, hey, coach, I'm not feeling so hot. I'm off to the locker room. Could we do that?
That's what becomes so interesting about it. It becomes a discussion that I don't know. I can't say one way or the other. It's something I don't know if you saw the conversation that Mike and I had in our
group chat read it the other day. Yeah, I perused it.
Yep. It's something that's clearly very divisive. And the issue that you run into is, personally for me, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I can't speak on any of this. I have to look at what the experts say. That's the way that I was, kind of raised and brought into this world is, hey, there's people that know a heck of a lot more than you do about certain things. Listen to them. So that's kind of how.
Or educate yourself on the topic at hand.
Sure. I know that there's decades and billions of dollars into things that are way bigger than I'll ever get into, and so it becomes so difficult because, there's a part of me that says, yeah, just let them play. If they're asymptomatic, let's just let it go. But the issue comes into, all right, but does that then spread to someone who's not going to be asymptomatic and who it could do a ton of damage to? And that's what we've been dealing with now for 2 years, and that's what becomes so hard.
That's what led to the resignation of the Winnipeg Jets head coach. Mm-hmm. He's 54, like pushing 60 years old. He's part of that group that is more susceptible to COVID and its list of symptoms and severities. And I believe that's why they said he stepped down from his position, was he was just over the stressors of dealing with COVID in and out of the NHL. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. I mean, it's doing so much to all of us who are just kind of the regular folks in this world. For people that's your life, is you are in an airport every other day. You are in confined spaces in an airplane every other day. You are traveling to different places that are experiencing hot spots or not every other day. My God, I can't even imagine. And that's something that I'm very thankful I don't have to deal with. But yeah, in that sense, it's just a whole lot of unknowns, and that's what kind of sucks about all this is we're just dealing with a lot of unknowns.
We're dealing with a lot of unknowns, and it's not just hockey that's dealing with these unknowns. It's the NFL. The NFL has bent over backwards to reschedule games this week because, a number of players are out or symptomatic and tested positive and blah, blah, blah. And then, here come the waterworks from all these other teams. They go, well, our quarterback's out and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we played with Kendall Hinton last year. Granted, that was our own stupidity and trying to break, get by the guidelines and stuff. So I understand the punishment the Broncos received there, but it's rough. Like the Nets played amazing last night in basketball. Mm-hmm. Half their team's on the COVID list now. Mm-hmm. Where do we draw the line? And the NHL has a unique opportunity to hit the pause button for the rest of December and not have to extend their season because they can hit the pause button and be like, you know what? We're done until January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
We'll reopen with our Winter Classic game, which, yes, it's still scheduled.
Yeah.
If you got tickets to Target Field to go watch the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild tear the crap out of each other at Target Field, your tickets are still valid. I don't know if it'll stay that way, but they're still valid. But hit the pause button, look at Beijing officials and go, sorry, we're out. You know, you have until January 7th or 10th to cross that deadline, you know, to make that decision. And you can make that decision after that deadline. You're just going to incur financial penalties.
Right. And at this point, you know, I think that the realization needs to come that, yeah, NHL players probably aren't going. You know, I would say at this point, it's about a 95% chance that it's just not going to happen. You know, outside of the players who have already said they're definitely not going, like Robin Lehner, Connor McDavid, you know, some others that have just said it's not worth it. We're not doing it. You know, I truly feel like you're going to have a lot of NHL teams, you know, executives, franchises, and everything just saying, no, we're not risking our players being over there. We're not risking something happening and suddenly they have to quarantine for whatever your wacky rules are in China. Like it's not going to be something that we're willing to put these people through. And so we're probably going to look at the fact that, yeah, the NHL players just aren't going to be playing in the Olympics.
I mean, let's take into consideration, we already know of at least 8 Avalanche players who had declared to play for their countries in the Winter Olympics over in Beijing. 8 players. Let's say they all go over there and every single one of them tests positive at some point or another. And Beijing hasn't given out the official handbook on their policies and procedures yet for the Winter Olympics, as they're still working out some of those protocols for COVID and stuff like that. But let's say the quarantine period is 20 days, 14 to 21 days, you know, 10 days. You have to do 14 days for the Beijing officials. Then you have to do an additional amount of time in order to travel back into the U.S. And then even when you get here, you have to test again and have 2 negative tests within a certain amount of time in order to rejoin your NHL team. You're talking about potentially a month of hockey missed. Where would the Avalanche be with 8 players missing for a month?
Yeah.
We're not talking scrub players. We're talking Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog, Darcy Kemper.
Yeah. Hey, you're talking about the players that made the Olympics, the best of the best. So, yeah, that's exactly it. Like it's not just it's okay, we lost some of our AHL players. No, like that's your franchise that now is out for however long it ends up being. And like you said, you know, we still don't even know. There's still a big unknown of, okay, what happens if, you know, it's just a mess, man. Such a mess.
We're just talking the hockey aspect of the Olympics. We're not talking, about some of my favorite events. You know, I'm a big curling fan. Honestly, I love watching it.
Curling's awesome.
You know, I love watching I like watching the biathlons and stuff like that. You telling me I'm going to go ski? I'm going to go ski do 5Ks on skis and come back and shoot this target 5 times? Okay. Believe it or not, that mesmerizes me. I can sit and watch it all day. 20 hours later, I'm like, oh crap, I got nothing done.
Right.
But like,
yeah,
what are these other athletes thinking as COVID ramps up and everything else? And they have family and trainers and friends and everything that they have to look out for too. So I'm interested to see how the Winter Olympics unfold. Not just from a hockey standpoint, but from every standpoint. But I'm with you, man. I personally think the NHL should just be like, we're done. We're backing out. We're good.
Yeah, I don't see a positive coming from them being able to go play. You know, the only positive is that, hey, we get to see some of our favorite players, hopefully, playing some games, you know, because that's not even a guarantee.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see a positive outcome to them going.
No, I honestly don't see it either. So we'll update you guys on Rocky Mountain Sports Network as often as possible with all things Winter Olympics related as far as news and information as it breaks in and out of the NHL and how it affects the NHL moving forward. Got a question for you, Greg.
Yeah.
And this came from me listening to Altitude Radio, 92.5 FM here in the Denver metro area. They were talking about the superstars of the Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the biggest superstar, honestly, on this team right now? And my question to you is there a changing of the guard in the Avalanche organization as to who that superstar is? Because in my mind, that's slowly becoming Cale Makar.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest defenseman on ice.
That's right. You know, this is where it gets so interesting. This gets so interesting. You know, because it's something that when we had brought up that this was something we're going to talk about, I immediately started looking. And I was like, yeah, you know, let's check in on this and see what I can come up with. Man, it's weird. It's so weird because, you know, all of us immediately, anytime you'd say, you know, Colorado Avalanche is the best player, anybody who knows even a little bit about hockey will say Nathan MacKinnon. And in their, you know, in their defense, in my defense too, he still is. You know, I mean, it's not like he's gone. It's not like he's bad all of a sudden. It's just, yeah, you have someone in Cale Makar who is coming out and just doing things that we haven't seen since the likes of Bobby Orr and Paul Coffey and people who were in the Hall of Fame. You know, it's not like he's just being compared to, some good players. No, he's being compared to the top of the top of the top. You know, Ray Bourque. I mean, my God, the dude he brings in every Hall of Fame defenseman comparison that you can imagine. And so it's interesting because I don't know that it's necessarily a changing of the guard. I feel like Nathan's just, you know, he's still arguably one of the greatest players on the planet. I just feel like Cale's doing a real good job of being like, yeah, you better be putting me in that conversation too. You know, and so it's interesting because I was looking back earlier today, you know, because obviously he's getting the comparisons of Bobby Orr. So I was like, well, let's look at Bobby Orr a little bit here. And, you know, it was kind of cool because you could see the comparisons, although it was a little bit different. You know, Bobby Orr came into the league in 1966, had a phenomenal rookie year, won the Calder Trophy. Well, Boston still wasn't really all that good. So in 67, they brought in, you know, a massive 3-person trade with Chicago that brought in Phil Esposito. Suddenly they were dominant.
Yep.
And that's what's so interesting to me about what's going on with the Avalanche. When it was just Nathan here, you know, and obviously we still had Gabe, we at the time had Matt Duchene, and, you know, everything happened with that. You know, the Avs were okay. You know, they made the playoffs, had the great run of 2014, 2015. But outside of that, they were just kind of okay. All of a sudden, Cale comes in and they've become dominant. And so it's so interesting to kind of see it be what the Bruins were, just played in reverse. You know, and so it's so neat, but it does make this question very kind of difficult to answer. And also, you know, I don't know how to give a proper answer to it other than, no, there's just 2 of them now. You know, honestly, there's even more than 2.
There's probably like 4 of them on that top pedestal at this point right now.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, and I'm in the same boat, man. I sit there and I'm like, right now, as the season stands, Cale Makar is the top dog from a statistical standpoint. And much like Bobby Orr, you know, some of the greats from back in the day, he's doing things at an unprecedented pace and level of play. He is redefining the way defensemen skate on the ice, you know, in the zone, moving around their opponents and stuff like that. His transition from forward to back to side skate is just incredible in what Cale Makar is doing. But he's joining a core group of superstar athletes in the Avalanche organization. You know, it was Nathan McKinnon once Matt Duchene was traded. It was Mikko Rantanen on the other side of that line with Gabe Landeskog at the center. Val Nichushkin is having a career season. Devon Tays is having a career season. Cale Makar is having a career season. I mean, it's just amazing. You know, let me just put up a bunch of numbers behind me on a roulette wheel and spin them. And that person right there, that number, he's having a phenomenal year with the Avalanche. There aren't enough words to describe it. And I firmly believe, like you, there's 3 or 4 guys sitting on that top pedestal, and they're happy to share the spotlight with each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no ego getting in the way. You know, it's just like, we're here to perform. Mm-hmm. We all have the same goal, and that's to get past the GD round 2 curse, man.
That's right. But no, that's what makes this so interesting, because, you know, we are looking at what the Avs are doing right now and seeing how, you know, Cale Makar has come in to kind of say, all right, you know, let me show you guys, you know, that I can be the number one here with Mac. Honestly, you know, kind of having a very unfortunate season, just with the fact that he missed the games to COVID, he's missed the games to injury. You know, this doesn't go against Mac at all. You know, the dude
he's still going to be a 30-goal scorer this season,
right? And he's put up 24 points in 17 games. Like, that's still just absolutely bonkers,
phenomenal.
But the thing that does crack me up about this is, you know, we naturally kind of get these people stuck in our heads of like, oh yeah, it's definitely him. Oh, it's definitely him. My God, the Avs are just nuts. You know, you brought him up, Devon Taves. He's sitting at 20 points in 16 games. That's a 1.25 goal points per game. That is nuts. As a defenseman, and technically that's even more than Cale. You know, yep. I had to pull out the calculator because my math isn't all that good. But yeah, 1.25 compared to Cale's 26 points in 23 games, which is 1.13. So technically, stats wise, he's even doing better than Cale. Like, what on earth is happening in this team? It's just bonkers. You know, and that's not even bringing up the dude who's sitting at the top of the team right now in Nazem Kadri. You know, dude sitting at 38 points in 24 games. This is just absolutely asinine what this team is doing right now. And so it becomes honestly hysterical. It really does, in that, you know, we're looking for that player, you know, that one player to be the one that, you know, that does the Nathan McKinnon things that makes you go, oh, the Colorado Avalanche equates to Nathan McKinnon. No, right now the Colorado Avalanche equates to 15 different people just going absolutely wild. And it's so fun.
All right, Greg, I'm going to let you take us through the standings here real quick. And then as we get through the standings, we will hit Kenny's question. It's sitting in the comment section ready for us. Perfect. But I want to go through standings first before we dive into that.
All right. Sounds like a plan. So let's get these bad boys popped up here. I'm so proud of these slides. I get to show off my creative ability, which is not very much, but it's fun.
Hey, I love it. The slides look amazing.
Thanks, man. All right, so yeah, going through the NHL, we had a big shakeup. Like, I had a lot of fun putting these together today because most of it was just me sitting there going like, holy crap, okay, that's different. Holy crap, okay, that's different. The teams just bounced all over the place. I mean, last week, Florida was the number 1 team in the NHL, and right now they're sitting at 6th. So now
massive skid on those guys. They lost a ton of games in a short period of time. Yeah. I mean, and we were both at the game on Sunday this past week against the Florida Panthers here at Ball Arena, and I have to say, I was impressed by both teams.
Yeah,
you're talking about 2 of the top scoring teams in the league who totally just flipped the script and being like, hey, we got to play solid defense. We got to up the hitting and everything else. Hell, even Sam Girard at what looks like 4'9" on the ice had a massive hit. And I have to say, that was a phenomenal game all the way through.
It really was, man. Like, that was an absolute treat. It was my first game back since all of this with COVID.
It's my second game.
Yeah, so it was an absolute treat for that to be the game to come back to. Because you're absolutely right. You took the 2 top scoring teams in the NHL and went, okay, you guys aren't even going to score 6 total. Like, what? People were expecting 6 per side at least.
And everybody lines up at center ice. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
Yeah. It was so much fun. I had such a blast. But yeah, the NHL has just been absolutely wild right now as far as standings go. Washington takes over the top spot with 43 points. And Tampa Bay, who, my God, they weren't even on this list last week, suddenly shot the heck up there to get into second place. Toronto started doing pretty good again, jumped up into third. And the jump here. But the one that is really impressive is down there at number 8, the Anaheim Ducks. If anybody in preseason had said, oh, the Anaheim Ducks are going to be one of the top 8 teams in the NHL, I would have laughed at them. I would have absolutely laughed.
If anybody put a massive bet on the Anaheim Ducks to win the Pacific Division, I would have laughed at you.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. There was no way. I looked at the Anaheim Ducks and I was like, that's a team to watch out for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be the Kings.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought the Kings were going to be the team to watch out for, but they got hit by the injury bug and they haven't been able to recover. And Anaheim is just taking off with it. So I don't know what they're drinking in Anaheim, but I want some.
For real. And yeah, to speak on you saying if they win the Pacific, they're the ones sitting at number 1 in the Pacific right now. Like, seriously, had anybody seen that, I absolutely
Trevor Zegras, the picture of Trevor Zegras here is just phenomenal. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe we're in first.
It was too perfect because, you know, when I put this together and I would look for the pictures for the teams who are in first place, you know, most of the times it's just like, okay, let's go. Cool. Yep, that's a good one of them.
That's
as soon as I saw that Anaheim was in first, I was like, I know exactly the picture that's going in here.
And that goal was amazing too, but that picture's just perfect for this, man.
Yep.
Oh man, just so fantastic.
Yeah.
Vancouver, man. Bruce Boudreau has just come into this team and been like, look, you guys look like a hot freaking dumpster fire right now. We're gonna fix that.
Mm-hmm.
6-0-0 since taking over as the head coach for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know what it is about big old Double B, but he knows what he's doing when it comes to hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And he has taken Vancouver and flipped the script for them and hopefully try to climb them out of this hole. And this was a perfect time to make that move. You know, you're going into the end of December. It was now or never.
Right.
If they made this move 2 months down the road, there's no chance they had it making the playoffs. They have every possible chance right now to climb and continue climbing and pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And since we are talking about it, I'm just going to pop this up because I was so proud. But yeah, it's absolutely wild. 6-0-0 since changing coaches. And so, of course, it would be Bruce Boudreau. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest coaches in NHL history. Like, it was a given. But I, decided to go and look at this and be like, all right, what's contributing to this? Man, he has got players just absolutely playing out of their minds. He took Brock Besser, who was one of their best players, but was struggling. And the dude had only scored 4 goals and 6 assists in his first 22 games. In this six-game span, he put up 5 goals and 2 assists. So he already doubled his goals total in 6 games. Wild. JT Miller has picked up 2 goals and 7 assists, over a point per game player right now. And Thatcher Demko, my boy Thatcher, makes me so happy because being a goaltender lover and being a lover of American-born goaltenders, I love Thatcher. And so it made me so happy to see him be named the first star of the week by the NHL.
Oh, killed it.
And to just be doing absolutely asinine things right now. So he's 5-0-0 in the 6 games because Yaroslav Halak got the other win. He has stopped 162 out of 169 shots. That is a .959 save percentage. In 6 games, he has a .962
out of 169.
Isn't that bonkers?
He's allowed 7 goals.
7 goals in 6 games.
In 5 games, guys.
5 games.
5 games.
Like,
that
what?
is absurd. You're talking like a 1.8 goals per game.
1.4.
Oh, was it
1.4 goals
1.4? My
against.
math was off. Sorry. I forgot to carry the numbers over on my
Carry the
division there.
line to the- Yep. Yeah.
But this guy is just crushing. Demko is just crushing it right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go back and watch their games wholeheartedly and just, I don't know, their goaltending coach knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because Demko is just on point and Halak's just twiddling his thumbs on the bench like, I hope I get to play.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but again, only since Boudreaux has come in. Like, he has figured out how to take that staff and truly turn them into what they could be.
Yeah.
Because they didn't lose. They lost their head coach and their assistant coaches and the GM.
Yep.
So they didn't lose their goalie coach. They didn't lose anything like that. Bruce came in and just said, dude, get my goaltenders where they need to be. And
I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. The NHL basically looked at Vancouver and said, sorry, guys, we're gonna throw a stick in your tire here.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're streaking, man. I mean, there's nothing better than being a hot team and then everybody having to look at their schedule and go, really? We got to play those guys?
Yeah.
Crap. Which means we got to step up our game.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's Vancouver. Both games this weekend postponed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say canceled because NHL is going to try and reschedule everything. But we'll go from there. I mean, and then speaking of hot teams, the Avs going into Nashville. They were 5-0. Nashville was 5-0 in their last 5 games. This is a battle of, clash of the Titans right there going on. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the central standings a little bit later. But that was sad.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of disappointed that they didn't postpone that game. I get it. We're in town. We were there. It would have been last minute. Sorry, everybody in the stands. Got to go home now. Can't stay here.
All right.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Nashville was playing with half an AHL roster.
Yeah.
By the time the Avs got through testing and everything, they had 15 skaters on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they had a backup goaltender, emergency goaltender.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I get the players saying, we want to persevere. We want to push through. Come on. Really?
Well, and the problem is too with that they waited until they were there. They damn near waited till they were suited up to finally say, "Hey, you guys want to play this game?" Like,
I'm already dressed, might as well.
Yeah, like of course they are. Like, you already have
sorry.
them in the
what
stadium.
They should have done for that game last night is they should have rolled over a freaking 2 coolers to each bench full of Coors Light and been like, have at it, boys.
Right? We're just turning this into an exhibition game now.
This is just a beer league game now. Have fun.
Yeah. It was just it made no sense. It was weird. Yeah, we'll get into it more in just a second when we get to the Central. Let's finish off the Pacific here because wild stuff. Finishing up with the Canucks because they're blowing everyone's mind right now. The one that really just made me absolutely just giggle myself silly was they had a game on the 14th against Columbus. They're down 3-0 in the first period. And so I found myself just laughing at the fact that they then came back and won it 4-3 after I had just gotten done talking to my dad being like, yeah, this crazy thing's going on. Bruce Boudreau's 4-0. Like, how wild is this? Oh, well, they're down 3-0, so I guess he's going to be 4-1. Yeah, and then all of a sudden I turn the game on in the third, and I'm like, never mind. They're going to go ahead and be 5-0. It just absolutely wild. Their power play has been fantastic, 36%, 5 of 14. Their penalty kill has been pretty darn good, 10 of 12 for an 83%. Like, it just,
God, that's way better than what they were at the beginning of a month ago.
Exactly. Like, that was the team that,
if your power, they couldn't stop a team from scoring a goal on a power play goal. They were less than 50% on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
And it was just terrible. They were one of the worst teams in the league. But Bruce Boudreau is a friggin' genius. He knows the ins and outs, the X's and O's of hockey, and he does a fantastic job with it. I would not be surprised to see Vancouver sneak in as a wild card and upset some teams.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, that's exactly how this is looking. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'd actually be pretty excited, especially if they're out there like knocking out, Vegas or something. Like that would just be, it'd be too good. It'd be too.
I will take Vancouver knocking out Vegas.
Yeah,
I would happily do that. But I'm having flashbacks of some really, really bad experiences between Vancouver and Colorado.
Right. Yep. James Dean twins.
I'm so glad they're going.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
Long ago. Anyway, so yeah, there's Pacific. Kind of got on a nice fun rant there about Vancouver, but let's move to where our boys in Burgundy and Blue are at here in the Central. So we still have Minnesota Wild up at number 1, unfortunately. So I have to keep that goofy photo of Kevin Fiala up for another week, but that's all right. I like Kevin, so he's the only one though. Other than that,
you can stay. Everybody else can go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unfortunately, Nashville hops up into second because of that win over the Avs in what we were just talking about, was just a game that made no sense. It shouldn't have been played. The fact
especially now that the Nashville Predators are also one of those teams that are in a pause until after the holiday break.
Right. Just everything pointed to the league being like, hey, guys, maybe let's not do this. But no, instead they waited until the teams were there and then finally walked into, like I say, a damn near fully suited up locker room and say, hey, guys, you want to play? Duh, of course we want to play. I don't want to take this crap off and fly home now that we've just got here.
I can just imagine Pavel Francouz like trying to put his jersey on. His hands are stuck. Like his head's not even out the jersey yet. And they're like, hey, you guys want to play? And Pavel's just like, sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. It just... that was such a stupid idea in so many ways. And like you're saying, Nashville had 7 players who were on the COVID protocol at that point. Their entire coaching staff, it was announced the day of, oh, hey, Dan Heinold, the former Colorado Ave. Oh, it's going to be great. He's going to get his first head coaching game in the NHL. Like, this is going to be so fun because as an assistant coach, he's going to be their head coach. And then like 5 hours beforehand, they're like, never mind, he's positive too. Like, this was just so stupid in so many ways. Like if there's,
here's our coach, Coach McKay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, a little Mighty Ducks reference there.
Just when we talk about, like asterisk seasons and asterisk games, like this is hands down one of those.
Oh my gosh. Like, especially considering it was a division game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, come on, you're throwing points away. If you lose this game, so I personally wouldn't have taken the risk. I'd been like, sorry guys, I know you're all dressed and everything else, but between the number of players that we've had tested positive and everything else, let's just reschedule this game.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because it kind of turned into a parody almost. Mm-hmm. The fact that it was already going in like, oh damn, all right, look at everything that's happening in Nashville, and we just found out that Berkey and Comfort weren't going down because they're on the list. Like, man, this is wild. And then all of a sudden
Kemper tested positive.
Yeah, then Kemper.
And then like literally 5 minutes before puck drop, Makar tested positive. It was just a nightmare to see.
Right. And then you have the absolute just, I don't even know what to call it, sham or whatever.
Yeah. But Kaiser, I'm the same way, man. My fantasy team looks like trash right now.
Yeah. Just the absolute, then, like I say, it felt like a parody because then you have Jack Johnson and they're like, oh, well, he's not on the bench right now, but he could be. They're just waiting on another negative test because he actually tested inconclusive and then got a negative. So we just need the second one. Like, my God, stop. Like, this is stupid. These
players are vaccinated.
Don't do this.
These players are vaccinated. They're going to be exposed to the Omicron variant. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to have a positive test, but they're going to be asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
Let them play.
Yeah.
Or if re-look at your policies. If there's more than 7 players out because of COVID-related issues, put the team on a pause, whatever you have to do. But don't be like, hey, boys, you want to play? You want to not play? What do you want to do?
Right.
I'm sorry. If somebody says, hey, Scott, would you like a medium rare steak? I'm going to say yes every single time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it works, people.
Yeah. It became just an absolute joke with the fact that there's a governing body to this league and they left it up to the players. Yeah. No. Like,
I will say this, though. the gap between Minnesota and Colorado has closed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona is still hanging out in the cellar looking for the light switch.
Let's just call them Quebec at this point. They're
the Quebec Coyotes.
Yeah.
Or something of that nature. They'll get renamed at some
Right.
point. But Kaiser brings up, what's the point of the vaccine if we're still going to have this BS? Those are his words exactly. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you. As fans, it means I don't have to worry about going to find a negative test or get a negative test. Yes, there are several places that will test you for free. Insurance will cover the copay, blah, blah, blah. Or places are giving out vaccines for free, whatever. We're going to give out free vaccines and stuff. Why not the rest of healthcare being free? Just a little piece there, but
we can hope.
We can hope.
We can all
hopefully
hope
we're heading that direction. We'll see what happens. But I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like if a player's been vaccinated, they've gotten their booster shot, everything else, if they test, why are we testing them?
Mm-hmm.
They're vaccinated. The only time they should get tested, vaccinated players in any professional sport at this point, in my opinion, hey, coach, I'm not feeling so hot. Okay, let's go. What are your symptoms? What are you experiencing? Well, list whatever it is. Sounds like COVID. Let's get you tested. Sounds like the flu. Why don't you go home and rest? What? I get testing people and whatever, but I'm like, what's the point? And then I think in their new agreement, after you've popped positive, you're not supposed to be tested for another 90 days. Let's just say everybody tested positive and get it over with then.
Can't test until after the season ends. So
the whole team tested positive. You can't test us again until the end of March. Leave us alone. Let us play hockey.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next division. We're cutting it close.
Yeah, no worries. So much to talk about. Such a little time. Yeah. Anyway, there's the Central. Like you said, we're closing the gap on Minnesota, which is nice, and we've got games in hand.
We got a ton of games in hand now. Let's go, people.
Heck yeah. All right, moving on to the Metro, the division that seems to basically have the entire top 8 teams in the NHL, other than the last few. But yeah, between Washington, New York, and Carolina, like holy crap, that is such a terrifying division to be in.
And Carolina's doing this without Sebastian Aho right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's out because guess what? COVID.
Yeah.
Washington Capitals, they've done it without Nicholas Backstrom for the longest time. He finally came off a long-term IR, and 2 days later popped positive for COVID. And all this other stuff. But this is where Kenny's question comes in.
Yep.
Let me pull this comment up real quick. His question for us tonight: with Nicholas Backstrom getting closer and closer to coming off a long-term IR, he's just out on COVID right now. When he does come back, does that make the Capitals the favorites in the Eastern Conference, or better yet, Stanley Cup favorites? I will say this. Nicholas Backstrom, that word "back" in his name, he is the spine of this organization. Him and Ovechkin. Ovechkin, TJ Oshie, 3 of their best players on that team. They've been together forever. And you're putting another weapon like that out on the ice. This team's already dangerous without him.
Mm-hmm.
You put them on the ice, they're sitting there 18-5-7 with 43 points. They're going to be in a fight every single night. They could win every single night. Is it, likely? No. They're going to run into some other hot teams, but he's a vital piece of this team, and I do not doubt his ability. So for me, yeah, I think they become an instant Eastern Conference favorite. Right up there with Tampa, Florida, and in my personal opinion, the Hurricanes. Rangers are good too. I'm not a big Ranger fan. I'm a Hurricanes fan. That's my Eastern Conference team that I root for. But I think it does make them put them into heavy consideration for an Eastern Conference champ, and one of the top 5 teams as far as a Stanley Cup favorite.
Yeah. No, I basically agree 100% with that. I mean, it 100% makes them the Eastern Conference favorite. Like, guarantee at this point, I kind of feel like they already are. So yeah, throwing in Nicholas Backstrom, there's not really anything that's it's not going to be a negative. I feel like you're not going to kind of hit the McKinnon effect that we have over here, because the McKinnon would be Ovechkin. So
could you imagine if the Washington Capitals had Lundqvist?
That'd be interesting.
I mean, he did go to them as a free agent. Unfortunately, wasn't feeling well, had open heart surgery.
Yeah.
Was working on trying to come back, put the gear on, didn't feel comfortable, decided to retire. But imagine how much more dominant this team could have been with an experience, like a really good experienced goalie like Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting, because there's the fact that he was obviously starting to decline. I mean, there's a reason that the Rangers didn't re-sign him, but
to share that knowledge with Ilya Samsonov and their other goaltender whose name escapes me right now.
Yeah, Vitek Vanacek.
Vitek Vanacek, yes. Yeah. To share his knowledge and his expertise and experience with those two young goaltenders, priceless.
Yeah. That would have been huge. It would have been like, I wouldn't say that, like, having him on the team would have been detrimental in any way, but it just, like I said, there's a reason that New York didn't re-sign him. Obviously he was kind of slipping, but yes, the knowledge and the experience and wisdom that he could have imparted on those goaltenders would have been,
we're talking the Peyton Manning of goaltenders, nuts. People.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, this dude was a bookworm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would definitely have made it terrifying. But I mean, again, they're terrifying without him. They're terrifying without Nicholas Backstrom. Like, this is just a team that, it is kind of another one. I figured they'd kind of be on the fight for the tops. I didn't think they'd be doing what they are, especially what Ovechkin's doing. My God, he's one of the oldest players in the NHL right now, and he's just tearing it up.
Like, I thought they would be fighting tooth and nail, kind of like Pittsburgh is, to kind of hang out there at the bottom of the top four. Right. I mean, but the fall off from 4th to 5th is just astronomical. We're talking, 8 points.
Yeah,
that's astronomical in standings wise.
Yeah,
but all these teams are doing better than the Coyotes are.
That's right. But yeah, the Metro is so funny to me, man. I mean, when you have the top 3 there in the top 8 teams in the NHL. And then the bottom 5, not even not bottom 5, the bottom 4, just not even close. It's funny. It's funny how this works. Hockey is such a goofy sport, man.
It's a fantastic sport, though. I love it.
Yeah. But, in that sense, it kind of is one of those things that, Pittsburgh could kind of look at the same thing. They haven't had Evgeny Malkin for the last 2 months. He's coming back. Like, it's so wild, man, that teams can do what they do without their star players, but then suddenly the star players come back and they're just even better. And like, it's crazy, man. These teams are just nuts. No worries, Kenny. Hope that kind of answered some things and, at least gave you our insight, because that's
Backstrom's a beast. He'll make you guys even better.
Yeah, like
plain and simple.
It's exactly.
And it's gross. I don't like it as an Avs fan, but as a growing NHL analyst, props are due where props are due. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the Atlantic so that we can finish off the standings. Only thing I'll say is, as a Penguins fan, I'm upset, but as an Avs fan, it's whatever. We'll see you guys in the Stanley Cup.
We'll see you guys later.
All right, on to the Atlantic, where the Tampa Bay Lightning have just gone on a crazy run and have, kind of proven why they won the last 2 Stanley Cups. I mean, they lost 25% of their team this offseason, and doesn't matter. Like, they're still just like, nope, we still own this over here. It's absolutely bonkers to me.
They lost 25% of their team. They picked up P.E. Belmar. They looked through their NHL, their AHL affiliate little Rolodex and been like, who are we going to call up? Cal Foot, come on up. Just let me pick a couple people and just like toss them into our lineup and, create some more depth. And they've been fantastic about it. I mean, just phenomenal job by Tampa Bay Lightning. And Andrei Vasilevsky is a freaking brick wall, people.
Mm-hmm.
I look over there and I don't see a person. I see a brick freaking wall. That's all I see in goal for Tampa Bay Lightning. And Toronto, all right, Toronto fans, are you guys legit? Is this the year? Because you guys laid an ass whooping on my Avs 8-3. I feel like we weren't really prepared for a road trip at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be like the Edmonton Oilers. Don't be fantastic during the regular season and then turn around and just be a disappointment in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can't lose to Montreal in the playoffs again. You can't.
Especially not
qualified right now at 17 points compared to your 42.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to say it could be worse because here we are complaining about our second round at curse. And they haven't made it past the first round. So,
we're the best team ever. We're going to win the cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I will say though, man, like Canadian fans crack me up. Like not Montreal Canadians, like just throughout Canada. Because here you have players throwing jerseys on the ice for Toronto, who happens to be in second place right now. You have them throwing them on the ice for Vancouver, who's on a 6-game win streak right now. You had to throw them on the ice for Edmonton, who's, well, they're tanking. But like, it's so funny to me that like, it's like their version of like burning a flag almost. It's throwing a jersey onto the ice. And so it just cracks me up that like that's where their head goes is like, screw this, I'm done with this. I've been a Maple Leaf fan for 50 years and I'm over it. And then now they're in second place. Like,
see, that's why I bought, I look at jerseys from, secondhand places instead of arenas.
Not throwing my $150 jersey out there.
No.
Not happening.
That $30 one, though, I might think about throwing that one. But then again, it is a goaltender's jersey, and I'm, partial to my goalies. So it doesn't matter when the last time they played for the Avs or whatever team they're on now.
Right. It just cracks me. Like, it's one of those things, man, sports fans. Like, let's have a little heart-to-heart here for a second. We could all learn a thing or two from the Detroit Lion fan base. You're talking about a team that hasn't been relevant in over 30 years, and they are diehard fans. They adore their team. They will 100% say that they suck.
But they bleed silver and blue.
Yeah, but my God, they stand by their team no matter what. And boy, if only the rest of us could be like that. I can't tell you how many Avs fans I know that, boy, during the 48-point season, they were nowhere to be found.
Okay, I'm going to interject real quick. Who has two thumbs and was a season ticket holder during the 48-point season? This guy right here. I only have one seat for the entire season. My first time being a season ticket holder. And oh my God, I was so miserable coming back from some of those games. I can't even tell you how miserable I was going to the arena and being like, how many games have we won at home this year? 4. And I've been to you get 41 games at home. 82 game season, you get 41 of those games at home. I went to all but maybe 10. And I was disappointed more often than not that season.
Yep.
Look, I still went back.
Yeah.
2 years later, I went back to being a season ticket holder and remained a season ticket holder for 2 years. Mm-hmm. COVID happened. Didn't do my tickets. I didn't do my tickets this year because COVID was still an issue. And I started doing this, this podcast and the live show and everything. So I'd rather sit at home and watch it. I go to a game every now and then, and I love going to games. But, man, as Greg was saying, as sports fans in general, I don't care if it's basketball, hockey, lacrosse, field hockey, curling, whatever it is. Support your team.
Support your team.
Thick and thin. Support them the entire time. You're mad at them, and you're like, I'm gonna burn this. Put it in the closet in a dark corner somewhere and leave it there until you're ready to come back to it.
Exactly.
Just leave it.
Exactly. But yeah, just my God. And I get it, man. Emotions run wild. I have come damn close to holes in the walls after some losses, mainly to Vegas. But like let's woosah this, man.
Yeah. I think the last time I was so furious and frustrated was the Game 7 against Dallas.
Yeah.
You let a rookie score a hat trick? I gotta go.
Yep, same. I took a nice long walk after that one. But yeah, just understand, guys. These are still human beings. And these are franchises that we're supposed to love. Like, my God, if any of you are married and you're giving up on sports teams, shame on you. You know the line through sickness and in health, for better or for worse. For the love of God, just accept it.
Little did the wife know when you were saying your vows, you were saying it to your sports team.
Exactly. So yeah, just like I say, man, learn from the Lion fan base. Like, you can love your team even when they suck. You're gonna be okay.
It's okay. We forgive you, Al.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's it for the standings portion of this show. We got one more little bit to cover real quick, and then we're gonna head off into the proverbial night. Greg's probably gonna do some streaming or something at some point with some video games.
Yeah, we'll see. What
I'm probably gonna go out and drive for a little bit myself. We'll see what goes on. But some good news right now. The World Junior Championships are set to start next week. Exhibition games are now being limited due to the ongoing spread of COVID. But they did say there will be a limited number of exhibition games prior to the start of the round robin part of the tournament, or the pool play of the tournament, which starts next Friday, Christmas Eve, Boxing Day. So please, if you're interested in watching some of the young talent of the AHL and the college level of hockey, please tune into the World Junior Championships. It should be a great show. I'm going to try and tune in a few games myself and check them all out. You can find more information on the IIHF homepage. That is www.iihf.com. We have 7 days, 16 hours, and 56 minutes to the first face-off of the World Junior Championship. So go check that out, guys, and we will try to provide you guys with information as it becomes available to us to share with you guys. Another part of our show moving forward.
Yeah. Without Avs games to cover,
we got to do something, guys, and we're going to try to do something. There are other games going on. We'll chime in. We'll try to keep up on some of the stats and stuff. But speaking of next week, we'll talk about that. But that's going to wrap it up for our show tonight. We will be back next Wednesday for a special pre-Christmas episode after our boys at the 4th and 99 show do their show talking about the Broncos and the NFL. We will go on at 7:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. In the meantime, please be sure to follow us, like, and subscribe to our show. Also, if you feel like chatting hockey, Avalanche or not, or something else within the hockey world, you can chat with myself or with Greg Doudna throughout the week via our Twitter handles. You can reach me at AvsCole and Gregory at Doudna Writes on Twitter. Please join our group on Facebook at Rocky Mountain Sports Network to catch all the sports news and conversations. And if you ever miss a live show, you can always listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, or Podcast Addict, whichever one you choose to use. And as always, please join us every Saturday after the new year comes around at 6 p.m. for our live show when we drop the puck for some hockey talk. For myself, Scott Cole, and for the Blood Oath, Gregory Doudna, my co-host here, thank you guys for joining us tonight. And as always, Be good people, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you guys right here on our special Christmas pre-Christmas episode next Wednesday, 7:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Until then, have a nice night.